And now I would like you all to meet Kulvinder Beering, the CEO of Watson's China. Watson's is a extraordinary retail partner, a very large retail organization across China and many other countries. And Kulvinder, you're going to tell us a little bit about how you've helped manage the company through the pandemic and a little bit about Watson's itself. I look forward to it. So let's see where you take us.
Hi, good day to the audience, and we will present in a short while. So Watsons China is the largest health and beauty retailer, and actually I've been working for the organization close to 15 years now, which I understand sometimes actually in P&G terms that's quite a short time period. 4,000 stores in close to 500 cities, and some challenging times actually, especially after Chinese New Year in February, where we had more than half the portfolio closed, and but we still maintained what I would say is a large part of the momentum and also the enthusiasm in terms of the organization and the brand, and that. At no point did we lose people. We supported them through the whole pandemic period as well. So it's been a learning process for the whole management team actually, and we've learned how to work remotely like everyone else, and also those values which our organizations prides itself on, things around being very much things around loyalty and really having this sort of family type of approach to things. I do believe were tested during this period, and something which is something to be proud of. Yeah.
Well, congratulations on making it to where you have, and I'm looking forward to seeing your presentation and learning more about the process you went through to manage through these uncertain times. So let's roll that tape.
Hi, so Watsons China is actually part of the A.S. Watson Group, which is the largest health and beauty retailer in the world, with just over 15,700 stores. But today I'm going to tell you about Watsons China and what we've been doing, especially after the post-COVID era as well. So we have 4,000 stores in 480 cities, and on average, each of those cities has got a population of over 1 million. And Guangzhou there in the south, you can see, is where our head office is based, which is the same city as where P&G is based as well. And that's a population of, believe it or not, of only 22 million people. Those four cities together there account for nearly 80 million individuals. And we have about 160 million unique IDs, which represents around 90% of urban females aged 18 to 40. And you can see there, most of those are very young. Just to give our US friends a little bit of perspective, if I was to overlay New York with Beijing, you can see there, unfortunately Miami would be in the water, but you can see there over on the west you got Chicago, and then Los Angeles and Cincinnati. So that's actually correct in terms of geography and distance as well. So, number one question, how have we been doing after the virus? And in February, which, as you know, China was hit first. Actually, in the personal care category, we've bounced back very strong, and we are now trading ahead of last year. But as a business in total, we're still a little bit behind, close to around 12 to 15% of last year in June. Largely, as you would expect, in the beauty category, and our significant businesses in skincare and color cosmetics. That's slightly tougher, but I do expect that to come back. But overall footfall in China in the malls is still down by over 20%, and I do see that may prevail for the remainder of this year, definitely, and maybe early into next year. So how we achieve that? And I can tell you that we've probably the fastest, or the retailer which has recovered the fastest. And a part of, or the main reason for that, is a strategy which we adopted 2 years ago. And we talked about this whole idea of unlimited connectivity and connecting with our consumers on a consistent basis, and really then building that and using that to really build our business in terms of then brand building and how we can then really see our business as a media platform. And service is really important for us, not just our beauty advisors, but the whole business. And that's what I mean about absolute service mindset. And one of the starting points really of any business, and especially in offline retail, is to have a consumer environment which is both engaging and something which consumers really aspire to. And just going back to that one point about, we got a very young customer segment. So what are they always looking for? They're looking for excitement, they're looking for freshness. And really that does put a lot of challenge on the business. And these are formats which we've developed over the last year. But literally every 18 months to 2 years, we will do a total store redesign and actually bring new elements to excite our consumers. I talked a little bit about service, and so we've got over 2,000 makeup artists where you can actually book a makeover, or actually what you can also do is just simply as you walk in, you can ask one of the makeup artists to do a full makeover for you. We are doing this light facial service as well in stores, and that's about 200 stores, which is moving to about 400 stores. So it's a 40-minute service, and once again, it's just really it's a fast service, really targeted at the younger consumer. And then in just over 3,000 stores, we have our skin experts, and they would do a full diagnosis with a skin testing machine. We also then send you the diagnostic report. And then through AI, we also do then product recommendation as well. And the beauty of this service, and one of the reasons we're doing this, is actually our customer conversion is close to 70% as soon as a customer has actually taken up one of those services. And we work with different sorts of brands in order to deliver the facial service as well, and also then the skin service. Going back to this whole idea of being a media platform, so the 160 million unique IDs that we talk about, then 65 million of those are active. And one of the areas which we've been very strong and we've really focused on is then building our own media platform. And many of you in the audience I know are marketeers, and we'll always be looking at using things like Facebook and Google. And one of the things we've been doing is actually creating our own platforms, which is obviously very, very targeted, because you can see the customer profile. And one way we've actually created this WeChat platform is through our loyalty card. And so when you buy a loyalty card in China, our registration process is all automatic. The registration form is on the WeChat platform. So as soon as you register, give your name and phone number, that automatically gets registered in our CRM database, and then actually you become a follower of our service account and our official account. And that allows you, and I'll show you a little bit later, to send targeted information on our own platform, which actually is free. And so we've been creating that not just on WeChat, but in Alipay as well, which is one of the payment platforms here. And then also TikTok, which is a short video entertainment app as well. We have the #1 following in terms of beauty. And Weibo, which is a little bit like Twitter, you can see there, with over 2 million followers as well, allows us to send targeted messaging as well on those platforms. And this, I granted, looks a little bit complicated, and I can tell you this is probably the only complicated slide here. But I thought we'll spend a little bit of time just to really talk about how we've managed to actually create this comeback on sales. And largely it's been delivered through this great one-on-one connectivity with our customers and our beauty advisors and our service staff. So this was a journey we started 2 years ago, and we actually launched the first version in September, where we had an application where our customers could walk into our store, and on our own platform they could connect with a beauty advisor. What that allowed you to do was actually get unique, personalized advice, and also then the beauty advisor could send that individual either new product details or actually details about promotions and a whole bunch of personalized information. And what that did actually was really create a bond. And so when the customer receives that information, because it's on their WeChat account, which is a little bit like WhatsApp, it's like being a message sent from a friend and or family and friends. So in terms of engagement, actually, so a lot of you will be familiar when you send out mass information, the readership is typically 5 to 10% of the content. Actually, we're getting readerships of over 60%. And more importantly to you, for those sales teams, if you're used to conversion rates of 1 or 2%, we're getting conversion rates of 30 to 40%, depending on the products and actually the promotion on offer as well. And so this is the real power of this one-on-one connectivity. At the moment, a lot of that is being driven by our beauty advisors, but you see that guy in the middle there? That's our AI, which will be driving a lot of this in the future, using much more personalized information. So at the bottom there, you can see the DMP, which is the data management platform. So every time a customer opens an article or reads some content, that information goes into our DMP, which then triggers, and the next time we send information, that then triggers us to say, okay, that's the kind of content they're interested in, either in makeup or particular skincare. So the next time we send content, it will be relevant and it will be in that particular category. And that is why this is being so powerful in terms of engagement and actually driving sales for us as well. And you can see there on grassrooting, it's a great way to launch new brands, and also group buy is also on this platform as well. And also live streaming is one of the biggest trends now in China, and that's something which you can all do on this particular platform as well. And that's the real power behind this customer connectivity platform we've created. And then obviously you've got the transaction at the end, and they can either buy on our cloud store, which is really personalized to the customers in terms of content, in terms of the products we send them and tell them about, or you can actually go to the physical store to pick up. And we have what we call click and collect service, so you can order and within 30 minutes you can actually pick up in store, or we will deliver to you within 1 hour in 430 cities. So you can see there the end of the journey is pretty well thought through as well. So what do I see as Watsons China? Watsons China for me is, I don't really talk in FMCG terms, I really talk in terms of fashion, because we need to be relevant to this urban customer who's very demanding and is always constantly looking for excitement. So you can see there we're launching over 300 SKUs every month. And actually we're launching unique or complete brand franchises as well every single month as well. And that's the power of the O+O strategy which we have, and also the media platform and the brand building experience, and actually the platforms which we have in terms of then the digital and also the offline experience. And this really does, you can see there when I talk about the online and offline, so the ability to micro-target and actually smaller targeted customer segments in any way which you want, either through a live stream or through a group buy. That's something which My Store really does give you, and that's the power of owning that platform. And also then in terms of 4,000 stores in 4,000 urban middle-class malls. There's no other retailer which can offer you that access in terms of then physical touch points and look in terms of then what you look and feel and what you can see. And that's the beauty of also then the consistent execution in store. So one of the things we've been running recently is Dare to Try campaign, where we actually give customers containers where they can actually take the product and put it in a container, take it home, sample it, and the conversion is over 30%. So 30% of customers will come back and buy that particular brand, and that's the power of having this offline and online integration. So where do I see the future of not just the P&G collaboration, but the whole industry in terms of retail? I really do see it as being or creating highly efficient integrated business models in terms of then customer segmentation and really doing a lot more targeted promotional campaigns and targeted media, and that for me is really part of the future. So I just want to close with that and say thank you very much.
And thank you, Kulvinder, for that presentation, and thank you for being here. I'd like to ask a few questions after that presentation. First of all, I think congratulations are in order. I mean, that was very much a V curve that you showed early in that presentation. How you bounced back so quickly, it strikes me really was because of your investment in digital platforms prior to the pandemic. How soon did you realize that that investment was going to allow you to have that kind of a bounce back?
Actually, we were very surprised. Actually, I have to be honest with you, and I think it's an indication of just the sort of Chinese culture, perhaps as well. People allow you into their lives a lot easier, I think, sometimes, and this whole idea of privacy in China is very different to the US and Europe, even actually. And so when the stores were closed, we really asked our beauty advisors to say, okay, let's start connecting with those consumers. And actually, we got such a massive response back where actually people we didn't necessarily sell direct. It was just more about having a conversation, and that's how we started. And then those conversations grew to millions of conversations, and then we'd already connected the My Store and the personalized store with a lot of on the platform. And then that's when we really saw actually the full power and potential of this. And interestingly, it wasn't just the stores which were closed, and even the stores where we were trading, and obviously the traffic was still low in the malls. But our beauty advisors had the time, and then they were also connecting with our consumers there. So we saw a massive increase right across the whole of China in terms of My Store sales. And I can tell you, it was close to 30% at one point of our total business.
That's extraordinary. Did you almost find yourself wondering why you hadn't been doing this already?
That's always the sort of $1 million question. I think what it did do, it gave us a lot more confidence that there was potential with this O plus O integration. And as offline retailers, in all honesty, we always, the biggest challenge and the biggest question mark we always have for ourselves is actually how much is this cannibalizing in-store sales, and how much is it really incremental? And pretty quickly we saw when we did do the final data analysis, actually those customers who shop with us on My Store, for example, they spend close to 30 to 40% more with us. And interestingly, frequency in store doesn't drop either. So that gave us a lot more confidence. And so actually what we have been doing over the last couple of months now is actually even building the platform to be even larger and more integrated into our ecosystem.
Yeah.
And just like P&G, we're a very data-driven organization. So we really look at hard and fast at the numbers and say, what's it showing us and what are the future trends?
Yeah. Now, another extraordinary statistic that you mentioned in your presentation is 90% of urban females aged 18 to 40 in China are customers that you have direct connections with. That is pretty amazing. I imagine you might have some consumer insights. Tell us about this group of women. What insights have come from that direct connection, and what might our audience learn about that market in China?
Um, I think it's well understood. This is not really it's not that much of a homogeneous market, and right across China, actually, the tastes do differ. There's a lot of complexity around when people talk about tier one cities, and I explained that a little bit earlier, and tier two cities. And one of the things which we're now finding is there's also now a difference in terms of incomes and disposable incomes between those people who would say the tier one cities is their hometown and they grew up in those cities, and those who have migrated into the cities as well. So, and then, as you know, over the last 20 years, there's been this massive migration from the rural to the urban. And now what we are seeing is, especially post-pandemic, there's I guess some more fragmentation going on in terms of incomes and disposable incomes as well, especially depending on whether in those tier one and tier two cities, whether you're an incumbent and you're a local resident, or whether you've actually migrated into those cities as well. And a little bit like in Europe as well. There's also now a lot of migration going on out of the city centres into slightly outside of the main sort of urban areas into sort of residential areas where we're seeing actually a faster pickup in traffic in the malls, which we classify as residential compared to downtown or city centre or CBD, for example.
Now, also a point I'm hoping you might say a bit more about. You talked about thinking about Watsons as a fashion brand.
Yeah.
And how did that come about? How long has it been that's been the way that you're thinking about it? And say a bit more about how that connects the whole experience between the data, the in-store, and what is now happening on the online MyStore platform.
So, the fashion element actually, in terms of our segment, I think predominantly relates to color, cosmetics, and makeup, and that's such a fast-moving segment. And literally, we showed when we're launching 300 SKUs a month, actually in color cosmetics, I would say it's up to possibly more than half of that, 150 to 200 a month. Largely because one of the things which we are finding is, believe it or not, women in China do buy color cosmetics online. And it's largely because disposable incomes have got to a level now where if they're spending 50, 60, or even 100 RMB on an item, if they like it, then fine, they'll keep it. If they don't like it, they'll use it twice and then throw it away. It's become a little bit like, for example, that's why I mentioned fast fashion, whether you put H&M in that or some of those other even apparel retailers. There's just this sort of cultural shift that. They want the latest trends or what their friends are talking about or what the latest celebrity is pushing, just so that they can actually experience that. And that's one of the things which we're noticing, even in the beauty segment and the beauty category. Skincare is a little bit more different in terms of that's a little bit more technology led. So organizations like P&G are definitely market leaders in shaping attitudes and also then shaping what's the latest trends and fashions as well. And as you know, in China, innovation and the innovation pipeline is very, very short. So that's why there's no longer an SK which you can launch which will last for 5 years on the shelf. It's literally 18 months, and then you've got to move on to something else and be building the franchise. And that's why it is much more fast.
That leads me to ask about maybe the less sexy part of the business, but the part of the business that makes this all possible. How have you had to rethink your supply chains? How have you had to rethink your time to market in terms of understanding inventory and vendor relationships in order to speed this loop between online, offline fashion in the speed, that you just described? Was that, a big part of your operations over the past few years?
We actually run our own warehouses here. We've got 12 warehouses across the country. So we've been running sort of stocked warehouses over the sort of last 20, 30 odd years. Interestingly, we've been running something which we call VMI, Vendor Managed Inventory, and that was a project we started last year, which has now actually really proving its worth in terms of shortening timelines, where one of the things which we are now doing is, I'll make this point again, we're a very data-led organization where we're sharing daily sales data by store with a lot of our business partners, which allows them then to actually develop a 13-week rolling forecast with us. And that's something which post-pandemic, we've been really refining and working on. And that's actually given us an increase in on-shelf availability. It's actually reduced stock weeks cover as well. And so these are some really projects which are really now proving valuable for us going forward. Equally, one of the things which, if I do have the time, what MyStore allows us to do is actually we can now have a greater merchandise set rather than what's just simply listed in the store. And we're now looking at setting up central little mini warehouses in our key cities. So the top 40 cities in China still represent over 60% of retail value.
Yeah, that's fascinating. One last question. We have only a minute left. I'm
Sure.
curious, can you look into the future? How do you think retail is going to change, both in China and maybe in an adoption of the things you're seeing there across the world?
I think China will always, I believe, be different to the rest of Europe, largely because of the way the data is integrated and the fact that 55% of beauty, for example, is online. It's such a massive share, and so what I believe is the in-store experience will become even more of an experience in terms of whether it's a facial or spa, and I think that's going to become much more of a physical touch point area. And then how we move forward in terms of business, we're really building this idea of being a platform business, and either as a media platform business, and brands will engage with us in terms of then distribution themselves. And what I'm looking forward to in the future is that they'll have open source and open data with regards to our business and how they interact with us either on supply chain, in-store merchandising, and so that's really what I see as a big part of the future.
Well, Kulvinder, thank you so much for being part of the first Asia edition, and I hope you'll come back. Really an insightful presentation, and it's good to talk to you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Thank you.